one's called
Yeah,
Harvest
Moon. Let me open that one up.
We have
okay, I see more Dirk. John Dirk.
Fed. I have been asking for weeks for more Dirk content, and I'm fed on this night.
Jade.
Jane.
Okay,
Rose, Dave. I think we got betas.
yeah, betas and alphas.
I haven't seen Jake. Oh, there's a car cat.
So, do you want to do Dirk and the narrator, and I will do literally every other voice?
Okay. That works.
I think I've got distinctive enough voices for everyone.
Cool. Well, yeah. I think
that balances pretty evenly because there's not that much Dirk, but there is a lot of narrator.
Yeah. Okay. I'm refilling my cup of tea. So I can have a little sip.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm talking a lot. Now, the tea has caffeine in it, which is also drying my mouth out a little, which is a little dumb, but that's what I've got available.
Tea doesn't have that much caffeine, though, so...
No.
Not compared to coffee.
Alrighty. So...
Yeah.
It occurs to me that we haven't had content warnings at the beginning of any of these PDFs, but there probably should have been.
Yeah, the general content warnings are for blood and violence, like all of them, literally all of them, yeah. Blood, violence, death, I don't think there's anything, like, weirdly specific in any of these, so let me just double check. There isn't one listed for this, but I think blood, violence, death is going to be the standard.
Okay, I don't know if we've...
Oh, wait, here it is. Very light gore, blood, and death. There you go.
Okay, cool. That covers it. I don't remember if we did that at the beginning, because I have goldfish brain, so...
I think I kind of vaguely alluded to the fact that there was going to be violence in these, but I don't remember specifically.
Yeah, so. That was a little irresponsible of me. I apologize.
Yeah, sorry about that. We should have been clearer.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, back to the show. It's going to continue to be spooky.
Yes, blood, violence, death, pretty much all the way through. This one is a long one too. Yay. Okay, cool.
All right, yeah, we got 15 pages. This is, yeah, and this seems to be 8K. Yeah, nice. This seems like this is gonna be an like in alternate timeline in Homestuck universe thing for this one, which is going to be interesting. Yeah. I like this.
Yeah.
All right. Something has gone terribly, horribly wrong. John doesn't quite know what it is yet. He wakes up today and stretches, feeling his back pop as he lifts his arms above his head. It takes him a moment to figure out what the unsettling feeling in his chest is. The house is deadly silent. The defeat of Lord English led the kids to a timeline where everything was going to be all right. Earthsea was fashioned to their own making, the Carapacians creating kingdoms in their wake. Although there was talk of a maybe democracy, or even a system where Jane ran as president, they quickly agreed that they'd rather just relax and actually do teenager shenanigans instead of running an entire fucking city. John frowns at the silence and checks his phone. Normally, he'd have messages waiting for him from Dave, Jade, or even Carcat, usually yelling about something exciting or something that they wanted him to watch. Despite this, his phone only has one thread unread, with several messages. John, I realize that this might come as a fucking shock to you, but you're on your own this time. Before you go blaming Paradox Space again, I've been informed that this is an anomaly even to our timeline. Shit shouldn't have happened like this, but here's hoping you can rewind the fucking clock. Or not, you know, you can let this timeline crash and burn. Don't let me waste away in the goddamn void again. Good luck. Sorry for the hassle.
The fuck?
John quietly whispers, squinting at his messages with Dirk.
Striders are still so weird.
Regardless, It's still the only message sent from anyone. No long-winded speech from any of his friends, but it's not the weirdest thing that's happened to him so far, so he ignores it. What still worries him, though, is the silence. Jane would typically wake up and bake anything ranging from cupcakes to sweets, and her humming doesn't echo through the hallways like it always does. With a grunt, John slides off his bed and goes to his door. There's a moment of hesitation in his steps that John's learned to heed over the years, so he pauses and presses his body to the door. Still quiet. There's a faint whiff of candy in the air that feels strangely familiar, so John makes a brilliant decision to turn into the wind and let himself drift downstairs. When he sees a very familiar lollipop nestled against the couch, he recoils and solidifies, dropping onto the staircase. Tate, hush! John lets out an oof when he lands and springs to his feet, staring in horror at the red and green candy. Jane personally hated lollipops because of her time of being a trickster. It was an experience she never wanted to deal with again, and although she still baked sweets ranging from cakes to brownies, she refused to touch them. So why was the original trickster lollipop sitting in his fucking house? John takes a cautious step forward. Being out of tune with reality was sometimes tricky, but it allowed him several advantages even as he made his way to the couch. First off, he can feel the way the wind wraps itself around the damn candy and feels entirely too stagnant to be sitting in one spot. The second is the way he feels time and space warps around the lollipop, and John's old instincts from Suburb kick in a second later. Woof. John throws himself backwards, right as a taloned hand comes slashing down the spot where he once stood. He yelps as green electricity sparks all over the living room, and he watches as Jade Harley zips in, growling with her teeth bared. She has her hands flexed with her claws out, and she's staring down at John with sickly neon green eyes, something dripping from her nails.
Jade!
John asks, eyes wide.
Wait, what the hell is going on? Am I getting pranked? I know Halloween's coming up, but don't you think this is a bit excessive? Where's the camera? Jade, come on. I know you're not actually Grimdark right now, or Grimbark.
As John ponders what trick any of his friends and family could come up with, Jade slashes at him again and snarls.
You're a moron, John. Rude.
John responds, getting up. He goes cross-eyed when Jade thrusts her hands in front of his face, proudly showing off what she's got.
Your nails are nice. Did you sharpen them again?
He stops. There's a trickle of blood dripping down her fingers. Jade waggles them with a sharp grin and says,
Are you aware of what the lollipop is, John? You're supposed to be smart, you know. Superb objects are your area of expertise. Air. What happens when you're too dumb to piece together the clues?
Jane's not singing today. Dirk's cryptid text. The fact that the trickster fucking lollipop has popped back to existence when it shouldn't exist anymore after Rose and Kanaya's wedding. There's a very cold feeling washing over John as he hoarsely asks,
Did you kill my grandma? Oh no!
Jade says cheerfully, admiring the blood crusting on her claws.
I killed Jake. That was all Rose is doing. She's very precise with her needles. Make sure Jane screamed out her vocal cords before she finally died.
We split from the main timeline. John swallows the lump in his throat. It's been about a year or two since any of his friends were killed. They had joked about it, of course, with the immortality that came with being gods here, but no one was close to a just or heroic death and would revive. So normally he wouldn't be concerned, but the fact that Jade is correct means something's gone wrong with their immortal clock. The air of breath lets this information wash over him, and tries to dissipate into the wind again, but feels something grasp his entire self. There's a strange pop noise, and when John looks back at Jade, he gasps upon seeing a very pink and red Dave Strider standing there with a very familiar head in his hands. John ignores the blood dripping on his carpet to faintly say,
Did you make another decapitation joke when you killed Dirk?
Dave nods, tears dripping down his face behind his heart sunglasses. It's been a long time since John's seen his trickster form, and it's still unsettling to look at, Since Dave is more open nowadays and laughs out loud without covering his mouth anymore. It's taken a lot of progress to get there, especially with Carcat, but back in his trickster, he's completely silent and constantly crying. It's very unnerving. John tears his eyes away from the spirals curling on his cheeks and feels his Zillihu hammer settle into his hand. Sorry, one sec. It's been a while since John's held it, but the weight is comforting as he grips the handle with force.
What's the plan here, then?
John demands. It's been so long since Spurb that the adrenaline that fills his body is startling, but feels like an old friend. He forgets their entire session took a single day before they started their 3-year journey. 13-year-old John Egbert took to it as a way of adapting to something foreign and terrifying, but 22-year-old John Egbert is ready to fight for the home they'd built together, and to either avenge the death of his friends and family or just create a new timeline.
A number of things.
Jade says with a bright smile that shows too many teeth.
We can make this fun if you'd like, because I'll have your entrails spilling across the fucking ground by tonight. Dan had to play Operation, and Dirk, quite obviously, played Hangman. Jake's was Tag. Do you have a preference, John? I want you to be terrified before one of us gets you.
If they're playing games, then John has a very stupid, very brilliant idea. There's a high chance it'll backfire, and he'll probably be killed, but it's a risk he'll have to take. It's also quite terrible how fast John got adjusted to this horrible, shitty timeline. Does it say a lot that he's exhausted? How he's already adapting to the situation, taking note of Jade's claws and Dave's reluctance in being a trickster again? And there's Rose, shuffling out of the kitchen, ink and void dripping from her eyes and fingertips with her wands coated in blood. Her skin is a deeper shade of gray like the trolls, and her pale blonde hair has gone stark white again. It's been a long time since he's seen Rose go grimdark, but the sinking feeling in his gut is still the same.
Hide and seek,
John replies, trying to hide the shakiness of his hands by gripping the hammer tighter.
I get to hide anywhere in this universe, and you gotta find me by tonight. If I win, then you let me live and turn the timeline back to the way it was. If I lose, you can do whatever you want to me.
Jade lets out a bark, no pun intended, of laughter, doubling over as she smacks Dave on the shoulder.
Hide and seek with a witch of space.
She laughs, jabbing a talon at her nose.
Are you aware I'm part dog, dipshit? You know I can find you in the first hour and the game will be up. The game hasn't started yet.
John retaliates.
You gotta give me a head start. It'd suck if you caught me immediately, right? Isn't there a whole thing where it's more fun if the victim runs first?
He's also trying to appeal to Jade's doggy instincts. Rose and Dave don't personally seem to care, but Jade's head is tilted to the right as she considers her options. John's ecto seems to really mull it over before she replies.
Fuck it. Whatever. You get a solid 10 minutes before we hunt you down. I wish you could have joined us, but there's plot armor surrounding you that the lollipop couldn't break through.
Oh boy, how am I going to say this? Rose
asks with a frown, turning slowly to look at the trickster pop. Dave just lets out a high-pitched giggle that makes John shudder.
Who is saying this line?
I think
it's just narrative. I think it's just
that's
narrative.
Dave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, come on, Egbert. Don't you want to have fun with us? Holy fuck, that's terrifying.
John wheezes, backing up.
I only gave permission for Rose and Kanaya's wedding, but not shit like this. Nope, see ya.
With that, he pops out of existence, and Jade harumphs as she crosses her arms.
I want to hunt him down already.
She complains to her best friends, tapping her talons on her blood-soaked shirt.
Why don't I agree to those stupid rules again?
Rose says with a determined quirk of her mouth. You're a bitch, but you have rules. Jade finds it admirable that she's still attempting to fight the control, but once touched by the shadows, it always means that they'll set in easier than others. Jade and Rose fell under the lollipop way too quickly. Instead of the trickster versions they were supposed to become, something backfired and the horror terrors had taken hold of Rose again. With the condescension dead, they had seized the opportunity to take Jade as well, but Jade Harley didn't go down without a fight. Thus, instead of turning grimdark like Rose, she ended up becoming Grimbark again, and went after Dave. Honestly, she doesn't know what they were expecting. The happy-go-lucky dude at his sister's wedding? But no, this Dave is constantly crying and stony silent, carrying out his orders with a sort of glumness that no one expected from him. A bit shitty, but Jade could work with this. Somewhere in the realm of the universe, John Egbert pops into existence again, and looks wildly around at his surroundings. They're a bright gold that hurts his eyes but fills him with a sense of familiarity. He's back home on Prospect's moon.
If Jade shows up, then I'll be able to spot her easily.
John reasons to himself as he flies around, waving at a few carapaces to stare at him.
Or would they let her through since she's also Prospect and royalty? Shit. Maybe I should ask them to not let her know? I'm kinda glad I didn't end up on Durst. The carapaces probably would have hunted my ass down.
While he's still pondering, he doesn't realize that there's someone frantically waving at him.
You fucking moron!
John,
Wait, who's reading?
Karkat.
Karkat.
You fucking moron!
John finally hears the quiet yell from the window of a golden tower. He whips around to see Karkat Vantis flagging his dumb ass down. When he flies on over, Karkat snatches John's PJs and yanks him inside.
Shut the fuck up and keep your voice down.
Karkat hisses, clamping one hand over John's mouth.
Dave's been turned into a fucking trickster, and I can't tell if he was trying to kill or hug me earlier when Jade caught him. I know.
John murmurs as he gently pushes Karkat's hand down. Flashes run through his head. The memory of Dave getting impaled on 2 swords comes to mind. The way Dave choked on his own blood before crumpling on top of Jade, a heroic death that resonated throughout the timeline.
Something's gone really bad, Karkat. Dave texted me before Dave killed him, and he said that this was an anomaly in the timeline. I don't know what changed, but I'm willing to go back and find out what it was. An anomaly, my ass.
Karkat snaps.
I'm having some horrible fucking troll deja vu during this. I didn't survive several fucking universes to be hunted down by people who turned evil. Again, you know? Do I fucking deserve this? Hell no. I'm not even god tier. I earned my way into this fucking place, damn it. I survived Gamzee's rampage and Vriska fucking circuit. Bullshit that I'm gonna die here. We'll do our best.
John pats him on the head, grinning when Karkat snarls at him.
We're pretty used to this, right? We'll figure it out.
For once, Karkat doesn't blow up at him again, but instead looks oddly subdued.
I saw Dirk die.
He begins, and one orange nail digs into his skin.
I thought he was gonna fucking revive, like always when him and Jake mess up a spar, but he didn't. It wasn't even just a heroic. That dumbass just fucking died. And our god tier powers don't really work anyways. Dave tried to rewind before the lollipop took over, but he failed. My fucking shitty blood powers don't work either. Kanaya tried to warp out of there with space before Rose fucking stabbed her. Being a fucking vampire didn't fucking help because she went down and stayed down. John, what the fuck is happening? I couldn't tell you, buddy.
John breathes out.
I'm in a game of hide and seek from Jade. I'm not sure if Rose and Dave are playing. She didn't explicitly make that clear, but I'm positive she's going to rip out my intestines if she catches me.
There's a very familiar pop sound from behind the two of them. John stares at Karkat's bright red eyes, which look back at him in fear, and then he lets out a very strange gurgling sound that makes John tilt his head, trying not to turn around.
Carcat?
Carcat looks down to see the tip of a white, now stained red, blade protruding from his stomach.
Dave.
He rasps and tries to turn to see the darkened heart shades of his boyfriend.
Dave. What the fuck? Sorry.
Dave whispers, still crying. He gently takes his sword out as Carcat stares at the blood starting to pool on the floor. John's swearing as he tries to apply pressure to the wounds.
Carcat!
He asks frantically, not caring that Dave's still standing there.
Carcat, dude, keep your eyes open. Look at me. I've had way too many people die in front of me, and I'm not gonna add to that list anytime soon. Dude, look at me!
Carcat's eyes are starting to go foggy.
Fuck you, Egbert.
He says weakly.
Just beat the fucking game if you can. If I'm gonna die again, I might as well say, fuck you, Strider, you goddamn bastard. I bet this is for me kicking you out of bed a week ago.
The troll goes slack. John swears several obscenities that Carcat would be proud of, and furiously wipes his tears away.
Come to kill me already?
He snaps at Dave, vaguely horrified that he caught up so fucking fast.
Fucking, I don't know, do it already! Maybe you can try again in the dream bubbles if they're still up and running. They're not.
Dave quietly confirms as he stares down at his bloody sword. Both their shoes are starting to get soaked in Carcat's blood.
Got destroyed when the ghosts followed English. Sorry, I'm really sorry, John. Are you even in control of yourself right now?
John breathes out, watching as Dave struggles to set down the sword.
What's your head telling you? It fucking hurts.
Dave wheezes out, ripping off his heart sunglasses. Up close now, John can see how anguished his eyes are and how there's a spiral curling in his irises.
John, you gotta fucking kill me, please. I can't live like this, dude. There's a horror tear in my goddamn head telling me to rip you from limb to limb. And I just killed the love of my life, and I don't want to do that. Please help me. I'm fucking begging you. I think you'll die a just death.
John whispers, heart shattering as Dave nods frantically.
Dude, I can't do that to you. You could have killed me right now. I'm just trying to live until I can reset the timeline.
A light bulb goes off in John's head.
Wait! You're the Knight of Time!
John grabs onto Dave's night costume, wondering if he put it on before he got technically possessed.
Can't you rewind us? Or at least hit the reset button for us? I know Jade's on her way already. I just want to know if I've got a chance.
Dave winces and then attempts to wipe a stream of tears away.
I can't.
He snaps, squeezing his eyes shut.
I tried when I killed her. God, shit, I killed my fucking brother and Carcat too, and I almost killed you. I can't even hit the fucking reset button. You locked the timeline in place when you challenged Jade to the game, and she agreed to the terms. You got two options, though. Win the game and scratch, or lose and don't come back. I've invested too much of my life in this universe.
John declares.
I guess I'll just have to beat Jade at this. But how the hell do I evade her until tonight? You'll figure it out.
Dave's voice is weaker as he gently picks up the sword from the floor, angling it at his chest.
You're a little later, remember? You make the plans. You'll win the game. Do what worked before, and you got this.
John gives Dave a mournful look before flying down the hallway of the tower, trying to stop his tears when he hears a body hit the ground behind him. Somewhere in the distance, a clock stops ticking, and in his mind's eye, he can see the dust that settles over Dave's corpse like a brand. Focus, Egbert. Dave's got a point. What worked last time when I was up against a Grimbark Jade? John can still turn himself into wind, of course, and since dogs rely so heavily on their nose, if he turns himself into wind and scatters his essence across the universe, Jade's gonna have a hard fucking time trying to find which one is the real him. With that in mind, he can feel the exact moment Jade arrives on Prospect with Rose at her side. The air crackles with electricity, and there's a gloom falling over the Golden Kingdom, sending shadows pouring into the streets and terrifying the carapaces.
Shit!
John swears as he pokes his head around a corner to see Rose float down the street, idly flicking her wands at carapaces, killing them immediately. Jade takes to the skies and calls out,
Come on, John! I know you're here! There's only a few places you'd ever call home. But why would Prospect take you in? I was the one who made this kingdom my home. You slept for years and watched the world go by. I'm the rightful ruler of the throne. Suddenly this is a gamble for the throne?
John mutters to himself, tensing his entire body. He's got only a few seconds before Jade figures out where he is. She'll either allow Rose to go through herself as a gate, or warp into the room to get the jump on John herself. He's got to figure out what'll happen first, or else he's fucked. There. One tiny spark of green, and John poofs into the breeze. Jade's talons slice the space where he was standing moments ago.
Fuck you!
Jade howls, swirling around to glare at the wisps of blue floating away.
You're a coward, John! Get your ass back here! You made my friend die. I'm not exactly in the mood.
John shouts, non-corporeal voice wavering in and out. It's been a while since he's popped in and out of the breeze, so he's huffing with a strain of making sure not a single molecule is out of place. Going up against a feral witch of space was probably not a good move, but John's been on a time crunch ever since he woke up this morning. Outside, Rose continues to tear up the kingdom. Shadows drip from the thorns of Oglogoth, still so sharp and still sparking with energy. She lets out a sad sigh as she feels the death of her brother echo in her chest, and pauses for only a brief moment to grieve. She's still torn up by the death of Kanaya, but the horror terrors are relentless in their kerns and demands. Even though Rose Lalonde is a fucking force of nature, being taken over at the young age of 13 was not kind to her. There were still ways to bypass her strong will and mind to ensure that she'd follow their orders again after asking one simple question. A lone carapacian notices the Seer of Light's momentary hesitance and makes a run for it. This universe's version of the parcel mistress, she slips into the cracks of the kingdom and hurries to the center of Prospect. It's going to be a long shot, but if the heir of Prospect were to have any shot at beating the corrupted Witch of Space, then anything would be helpful to his cause. She ignores the darkness crackling and sending buildings toppling down, the snarls of Jade Harley, and the angry yells of John Egbert. She's aware that today is a fluke. In the humans' terms, a harvest moon had risen the night before, and something spun their universe out of alignment. Tonight is also Halloween, which means John Egbert is legitimately living a horror movie as of right now. The carapacian heads underground, ducking when rubble flies over her head and crashes into the walls. She just keeps rushing down and enters an empty space that sits in the black abyss. Deep in the center of Prospect's moon, two sacrificial slabs sit side by side. PM ignores the cracked black one with the space symbol glowing on it, and focuses on the wind-swept blue one with the symbol of breath residing on it. Every PM in every universe is bound to be a goddamned menace. This is a simple fact of Paradox Space, whether it be for mail or to avenge a friend's death. Hell, there's an iteration of her that went after Bec Noir for a solid 3 years and didn't die. So if PM comes up with a plan that could potentially work, Paradox Space has decreed that she's got the best shot of achieving it. With that in mind, PM gets to work on her idea. Both moons of Prospect and Durst are connected to the actual planet by their incredibly long chains. If PM can get Prospect's chain broken, she can get the moon to crash directly into the planet and destroy the sacrificial slabs. Maybe something programmed in Jade will force her to stop hunting down John and instead try to save her slab before it's too late. Suburb doesn't exactly work in this way, but the rules of the universe have been bent enough as it is. What is one more tug in a backwards direction? There's a subtle whisper in the crevices of Prospect's moon as PM tries to find something that's strong enough to shatter the chains binding them to Prospect. After a solid minute with no success, a gentle tap on her shoulder scares the absolute shit out of her. She jumps even higher when she realizes that there's an iteration of the Knight of Durst standing in front of her, holding out a solid white sword that seems to glow in the shimmer of golden walls.
Here.
Dave Strider offers, handing her the sword with a quirked lip.
Not sure why my future self was so insistent on giving this to you, but he said it was important. Anyway, this is Cattle Felch. The shit's so fucking sharp it can cut through anything and everything. It even broke Dirk's unbreakable katana. But that might be because the blade was shitty. Who knows? Dirk won't fucking fess up, and I gotta strive for him the answer. Asshole. Later, random carapace.
Dave Strider pops back in time, and PM stares at him, wondering if he felt his dead body in the halls of the tower, still so aware of every dead Dave that came to their untimely ends. Regardless of what he knew, she now has the sword and holds it close, letting out a quiet huff at the weight as she heads outside again. Trust the time kid to be there when the world needs them. Rose Lalonde's reign of terror has bypassed her location. Dead carapaces line the street with destroyed buildings scattered along the grounds. In the distance, Rose makes her presence known with another bolt of darkness. PM swallows. It might be difficult for her to get the air of breath's attention, but she does her best when she watches John solidify for a few moments to duck and dodge another sharp swipe. The Witch of Space lets out a howl of frustration and vanishes into thin air again, leaving behind crackling electricity in her wake. John reappears close by to her, panting and out of breath. PM takes her chance and hurries across rubble to tug gently on his shirt. John whirls around with a zillyhoo in his grasp, only slacking when he spots the sword.
Is this Califwelch?
He breathes out, capsulogging his hammer and carefully taking hold of it.
Dave time-traveled for this again? Huh. I owe him big time when all this is over. I hope he's... Fuck!
The air of breath cries out as Jade's claws finally rip 4 slashes on her across his chest, grinning as blood immediately starts dripping to the golden floor.
Caught you?
She coos, neon green eyes blazing.
I win? Not yet, you don't.
John pants out, stumbling from the pain that's lighting up in his chest.
You haven't completely won yet. You still have to catch me.
With Calderfwelch in hand, he disappears into the breeze as Jade jumps for him again, snarling when her grip turns up empty.
Bastard.
She growls, whipping at the direction of the chain.
You fucking moron! What the hell are you doing?
John's still low on stamina and now losing blood at a steady rate as he holds Calderfwelch above the golden chain.
I really hope this works.
He mutters, raising it even higher.
If not, then I'm out of options.
With a grunt and a slash down, Calderfwelch severs the link between Prospit and its moon. There's a tightness that burns in John and Jade's chest again. Everyone on the surface can feel the gravity suddenly spiral, and the moon makes one turn towards the planet.
You're really gonna try to kill us all?
Jane asks in disbelief, feeling the tugging sensation in her chest grow stronger. All players, even if out of the game, are still connected to their beds. Jade's god-tier bed may have sat on the land of frost and frogs, but her Prospect one still calls her home.
That's a chance I'm willing to take.
John pants. He's very, very tired. It's taken a toll on him to go through Spurb in a whole day, cheat, and eventually win the game 3 years later. Even after Spurb, he has to be sure that his dreams won't be haunted by the occasional dream bubble. The Meteor crew still dreams of long-lost friends, since they're the ones that navigated the field and constantly passed through them, and still weep for all the adventures they experienced and friends they lost. He's always making sure that his friends and himself are safe, even with near unconditional immortality. No child should grow up looking over their shoulder, and sometimes John sees flashes of past selves when he looks at his friends. Sometimes Jade's teeth are too sharp, and sometimes Jane's eyes flash red, and he has to ground himself in reality again. And sometimes he sees steam curling off his body, his eyes whited out in his reflection for a John that sacrificed himself for the timeline. The very first John that kickstarted off the entire process. John Egbert wonders if he'd make his younger self proud. So, with the knowledge that he might not come back from this one, just to reset a timeline gone awry again, he uses his breath powers to accelerate the velocity of the moon. Gravity does its infamous act, already locked in Prospet's orbit, and sends it careening down. All John has to do is fly away, because although the tug in his chest calls to go save his slab, he ultimately decides to lift PM out of the destruction and settle her into an old friend, his rocket pack from when he alchemized it so many years ago. He makes sure she's secure and not in the way of the moon as he hands over Caldeflelch, taking care that the blade doesn't fall in paradox space. John turns back to observe the catastrophe that's about to happen. On all accounts, this should be a breeze. Jade's lunging for her slab, energy dripping off her claws, and the broken moon is barreling down on her. If John doesn't do anything, then he'll easily win the game and everyone can go home. PM watches with bated breath, holding on to Caldeflelch. But John Egbert is the leader of their session above all else. He's Prospet's golden royalty, the boy who would jump in front of a weapon to save his friend, and goes to shove Jade out of the way of the burning moon, mouth set in a firm line. The harvest moon settles below the horizon. A timeline snaps back into place. A clock breaks somewhere in the distance, the ticking coming to a complete stop, and something settles in John's chest like relief as Jade holds on with sharp claws digging into his arm and shouting at the top of her lungs. Before John and Jade are crushed beneath the fiery wreckage of the moon, he's having serious deja vu. He shouts,
"I won the game! Son of a..."
The world glitches out. The moon crashes into Prospet again. Something is right with the world again. John has a good feeling of what it is. He wakes up the morning of Halloween and stretches, feeling his back pop as he lifts his arms above his head. Downstairs, Jane is singing a melody that he can't place, but it's comforting enough that he gets out of bed to float downstairs.
"Good morning, John."
Jade greets him with a bright smile, gesturing to the cookies she's decorating with a flourish.
"Jade, Roxy, and Calliope will be a bit late, as they worked hard last night for some last-minute preparations and most likely overslept. Dirk's still up in the air, but hopefully Jake will update us if he's going back to blackout during the party, or actually managed to sleep longer than 3 hours, so he'll be on time. Dave's asleep on our couch, and Carcat and Rose and Kanaya are on their way. Did I miss anything? Trezzy and Brisk are off doing some weird shit."
John supplies and laughs when Jane sighs.
"Yes, I suppose that's true. Would you want to help me finish drawing aspects on these cookies?"
There's nothing John loves more than helping his family, so he nods eagerly and takes to decorating with a sort of robotic motion. As he pipes the red icing for blood, John's mind swirls with memories of last night. He's pretty sure he fought Jade in his dreams, and Dave and Rose were corrupted, energy crackling around their auras. There's a glimpse of a sword in his memories, and a burning moon, but just as dreams are, they're already fading away like breath on a mirror.
"Shit,"
John swears, making Jane look over at him confused.
Sorry, just wondering what's going on today. I slept weird, and I can't really remember right now." "We're having a pumpkin party,"
Jane says with a quirk of her lips.
"Jade's idea, not mine. She wanted a horror movie marathon with lots of candy and fun activities, which means Kanaya and Rose are going all out on the costumes, and Roxy's going to bring an infinite number of pumpkins. I took it upon myself to make the snacks, because I refuse to bring store-bought candy into our Halloween night. Only the best for us, and nothing less." "I expected nothing less,"
John says warmly, and laughs when Jane affectionately nudges him with a roll of her eyes and a blush. They're all working their asses off to give themselves the lives their childhoods never had, and which included testing out god-tier powers and doing dumb shit that teenagers would do. Even though they're young adults now, they've all been killed at least once or twice. John's pretty sure they all deserve to fuck around and have fun. Right as John reaches over to grab another batch of cookies, something aches in his chest. John yelps and jerks back, hands going to his chest where it pulses and stings.
What the fuck?
He wheezes, hand clenching on his shirt. When he lifts his hand, there's a mysterious dark liquid sticking his shirt to his chest that he quickly identifies as blood.
Did you cut yourself?
Jane gasps, hurrying over.
John, what happened? Nothing.
John waves her off, holding his shirt as he hurries to the bathroom.
Probably isn't a big deal. It's okay. I got this. Just keep making those cookies.
He ignores her calls of concern and rips off his shirt in the bathroom, face slowly going ashen at the 4 vicious slices that carve lines in his chest. There's jagged edges from something feral, and he chokes down the bile that rises when he notices how deep they are.
John!
Jane pleads from outside the bathroom.
What's going on? Can I help? No, I'm okay.
He automatically replies. With the proof that his nightmare is actually real, he has to think about his options. Everyone's obviously okay, and it looks like this timeline is good to go, but what if it happens again? The doorbell rings. Jane sighs and wraps her knuckles on the door when they hear Dave groggily get up in the living room.
If you're sure, then, that must be everyone else arriving. Please let me know if you need anything, okay? I love you. I love you too.
John replies, leaning his forehead against the door when he hears Jane walk away to greet their guests. He carefully rummages around the bathroom to search for the first aid kit, sighing when he finds the gauze and tape. It takes a few minutes, but he secures the medical supplies over his chest and slaps a blue band-aid over another deep puncture wound that looks suspiciously like a claw on his arm.
Game time,
he whispers, and goes to see his friends. Broxy's greeting Dave and Carcat with Calliope at their side, laughing as Carcat makes a smart-ass remark regarding Roxy's heart-shaped sunglasses and how they're taking after Dirk and Dave.
Fuck you.
Roxy laughs, face scrunching up at the thought of it.
Oh, that was a Roxy line. Oops.
My boys are taking after me, thank you very much. I've got the best fashion sense out of all of us. Hold on a second, I have children.
How we doing, chat? Any how's your Spooktober the 3rd going? It's the 3rd Halloween. Tin Cup is fine. Uber is vibing. Vibing. I'm very curious as to how this is going to turn out as well. Halloween 3. Okay, so I have made no secret of the fact that my birthday is tomorrow. So my birthday is sort of it's not Halloween the 3rd, I guess it would be Halloween the 4th, but it's November the 3rd. Wait. Yeah, today's Monday the 2nd, tomorrow's the 3rd. Okay, alright. I can do math. I had pumpkin pie ice cream and I sprinkled some candy corn on top. You are a genius! You are a goddamn genius.
Oh, alright, I have returned.
Hello. I haven't even mentioned the most important part about my birthday, which is that tomorrow the Hamilton episode premieres. It's a special Tuesday episode, and by special Tuesday episode, I do not mean that I forgot to upload the episode on Saturday. I am now uploading it on Tuesday. What I mean is, or that I wasn't able to finish it. I was uploading it on Tuesday. What I mean is, I uploaded one on Saturday, and we're getting an extra special bonus extra one. I was not on this one though. Riff and Momo were, and I'm very excited for it. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Rose Lime.
Oh, Rose.
Oh, honk. Shush.
I'd like to give you a run for your money, Rox.
Rose comes floating in, trying to match her wife's height as Kanaya still ducks below the doorframe.
I carefully coordinate every outfit to my liking. Can you say the same? Dear, you wore boxer shorts and a hoodie around the hive yesterday.
Kanaya murmurs, smiling when Rose tries to shush her. Roxy regards their Halloween costume. They're wearing a giant dress that's coated in planets, jet black boots reaching to their legs. Earrings dangle from their ears, and Roxy just shrugs, showing off the magic school bus costume they threw together to the delight of Calliope.
Whose line is this? Calliope?
I think it's Roxy.
It is what it is.
Knock, knock.
Dirk's monotone voice calls out. He taps against the door and manages a smile as Roxy shushes him, shouting,
"You're here and you're early! Wow!"
They'd forced me out of the workshop.
Dirk rubs the bridge of his nose as he takes off his shades. Sure enough, there's grease smudges on his fingers and eyelids from where he probably rubbed them. Jake pokes his head in with Jade next to him, and they're welcomed inside with cheers and excited shoving. John almost forgets about it while they're getting ready for their party. It's at the corner of his mind, but when his chest twinges again at a dark shadow that curls off Rose's shoulder, he forces himself to look at Jade. It was just a dream, he tries to reason with himself again despite the evidence. It was just a dream. It wasn't real. Jade hardly looks at him, and John Egbert can only stare in shock and horror at the glitches that spark in his sister's neon green eyes before a tiny ring of black surrounds them.
"Hey, John,"
she says with a bright smile, fangs a bit too sharp for his liking.
"would you want to play a game tonight?"
That's the spookiest kind of ending.
Yeah. I'm gonna be right back.
Yeah.